a chain of 70 or however long it takes for you to wrap this around your head. And you want to try and keep this chain loose, because if not, your hat will begin to like taper up and start to get wider. And that's just because double crochets are wider than these chains. So just try to make them a little wide. If you have trouble like consciously trying to do that, you can just grab a 5mm hook or something and just do your base chain using that, and then go back to a regular size hook. But yeah, just do a chain of 70, and then we're going to like wrap the ends together, and I'll show you how to do that when I am done. Okay, so I finished my chain of 70, and now you're just gonna track back to the end of this chain, and you're gonna want to keep it facing forward. So this is what the front of the chain looks like, and then the back has those little bumps. So keep it at the front, and then just kind of keep it steady with your finger until you get all the way to the end over there. Then you're gonna turn this upside down, and your hook should still be on this loop, and you're going to stick your hook into the top loop of the first chain you did. It's a little hard to see just because the yarn is black, but it's going to be that top loop. And then you're going to pull your yarn through, and now we have a nice big circle, which is where we're going to start doing our double crochets. Okay, so now we have this big loop, which is going to be the circumference of the hat. So now what we're going to do, we're going to do a chain 2, and then into the same stitch, you're going to do a double crochet. Just a double crochet right there. And you're going to go all the way around doing these double crochets, only in the top loop. And if you're more of an intermediate learner, you're going to do this for around 16, 17 rows. It always kind of differs for me. But I found that 16 or 17 is kind of like the sweet spot. So somewhere around there. I'll let you know what I do. And yeah, you're just going to build this rectangle, or it's a circle, but it'll look like a rectangle. You're just going to build it all the way up. And I'll show you how to connect like the end of the row back to the start of the row. So if you need help with that, just stick around. But if not, you can just go ahead and start building all the rows. Okay, so row 1 is done, and to connect the end to the start, this was the chain 2, so 1, 2, and then this one is that first double crochet. Go into that first double crochet, pull the yarn through, and now you can start row 2. So every row, I'm going to start with a chain 2 and a double crochet in that same stitch. So just go ahead and do this pattern until you have a total of like 16 or 17 rows. And you can kind of try the hat on and see how you like it, the size. And just remember that the bottom 3 rows, you kind of fold it up to make it look like a beanie. So just keep that in mind when you're deciding how long you want it. But yeah, go ahead and finish this up. Okay, so I finished my rows. I did 17 in total. It comes out to 8.5 inches. And now we're going to seal the top together. So to seal the top, you're going to go into that second stitch, stick your hook in, and then you're going to look in the back. And you're going to find the stitch that kind of corresponds to this one. And it doesn't this part doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if you're off by like 1 stitch, but just try and, get it right. And then you're going to go into your next stitch. Do the same thing, go to the back, go to that next stitch, then pull through both. And you're going to be going through both the front and the back loops, and just pulling through. Okay, so I'm approaching the end, and there's 3 stitches left. It's super hard to see just because the yarn is so dark, but I have 3 stitches left. one in the front, middle, and back. I'm just gonna do the ones in the front and the back. And then there'll be like one that's left out, but that's okay. It doesn't like make a huge difference. And the top of your hat will still be sealed. So I'm just gonna cut my yarn. And just to make sure it is secure, I'm just gonna tie another little knot. And then when you're done, you can just weave in all these ends. So like this one over here and the little one at the beginning. But now we can put our little details on. Okay, so for the skull detail, you're gonna do a magic ring. And in the magic ring, you're gonna do a chain 2, and then 9 double crochets. Okay, so that's 9. Push it back a little. And we have a little more. We're going to do chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a double crochet. And these are gonna kind of form like the holes in the skull. So this is an eye. And then we're going to do a chain 3. And then a double crochet. And this hole is the nose. And then we're going to do one more hole, which is going to be another eye. So we're going to do 5 more chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then one last double crochet. All right, so now you can pull the little string at the end to tighten this. And you should kind of see it take a little bit of form. Yeah, that's the top of the head and then the nose and the eyes. Now you're going to go into the first double crochet. So that's the chain 2. This one, is it this one? Oh yeah, so you're going to go into the first double crochet. So not the chain 2, double crochet. And now you're going to do a chain 1. And we're going to do 9 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in each one of those double crochets. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And now we're going to do 6 more single crochets, but we're going to be doing it in this space. So go into this space and we're going to do 6 single crochets. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that is 6. Now you're going to go into this space with a slip stitch and then a chain 2. And then you're going to put 2 double crochets in here. Then you're going to chain 2 again, slip stitch in the same space, like that. That's kind of like his little mouth, or teeth, I suppose. And now we're going to go into this next space, do the same thing with 6 single crochets. So same thing we did on this side. Cool. And then to end, you're just going to go into that first single crochet with a slip stitch. And when you cut your yarn, you're going to want to cut it kind of long because we're going to be sewing this detail onto the hat. So I'm going to do like 2 feet just because I want to make sure, I'm going to sew it quite a bit just to make sure it's secure. Yeah. To make this hole smaller, you just got to pull on this a little tighter. Sometimes it takes a lot of strength to do it. And you can weave this end in. But yeah, that's a little skull. Okay, so now we're going to be sewing the skull onto the hat. And I folded the bottom part up to where I like it, just so I can know where exactly the middle is, so that the skull looks like symmetric. And once you kind of have an idea of where that is, I don't really count the stitches, I'm just kind of estimating. But once you kind of have an idea of where that is, you're just going to grab a yarn needle with a blunt tip. All right, and then you're going to just start sewing. And I'm going to do, I believe it's called a back stitch. It might be a little confusing if you haven't done it before, but I will try and explain it. So from where the yarn is coming out, you're just going to just start off just by sticking the yarn down, or sorry, the needle down to wherever that spot is and pull it through. And then when you come up, you're not going to come up at like the very next stitch. You're going to come up at like the one next to it. But it's going to be very secure, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to come up through that stitch. And this is why it's called a back stitch. It's because we're going to go back down into that first stitch. I'm going back down. And you're just going to repeat this process. So I'll show you a couple more times. So I just went down into this stitch. So hypothetically, right, I should come up from this stitch. I'm going to skip it. I'm going to go to the next one. So I'm going to come up from this stitch. And then I'm going to go back into that stitch. So you're just going to go all around the perimeter doing this back stitch, which should keep this very secure. And then I will show you how I tie this off. Okay, so I finished sewing the skull on. You can see it's pretty secure. And to tie it, you're going to flip it inside. And then you're just going to stick your needle under any loop. And then pull it through, and you'll form this kind of loop here. And you're just going to wrap your needle around, stick it through that loop, and then pull it tight to make a knot. And to make sure it's secure, I'm just going to do another small knot there. And now you can just weave in the ends. Like that. Cut the yarn. And you're all done. It should look something like this. So yeah, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and comment if there's anything you think I can improve on. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.